your nose right in there and having a good sniff around. The Monday Scrum.
And welcome to the Monday Scrum with the regulars. James Graham, how are you, mate?
I'm very well, thanks, Maroon. Just still getting over Thursday night.
Yeah.
With you, that hour before the show is quite the hour.
It was absolutely. If you would have thought you were listening to community radio if you turned that on. Wendell's gibbering away. You're running around worrying about smoke alarms. And Woodsy, great win over the weekend for Manly.
Yeah, good win, Maroon. We needed that one. So sort of puts a little bit of a nail in the coffin for the Roosters.
Well, still 9 rounds to go. And Reedy, good to see you, mate. One of Australia's premier journalists, and a wonderful job on the sideline
thanks,
in the weekend as well.
Thanks, man. It's always a pleasure working with you.
Was he late? Was he late to the
Sorry.
sideline gig as well?
No, he
No, it was
wasn't.
early, actually. I got there an hour beforehand.
Well, you're half an hour late today.
No, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Just got the time mixed up. That's okay.
I don't
a lot
know
going
about-
on today. It's been a busy day.
Well, the Origin.
Very busy day.
Let's start with the Origin.
Well, hang on a minute. How is waiting for Origin teams to come in a busy day?
Because you're not
not
waiting.
picking the team, are you?
I think he's just. I
You're
think
not
it's-
waiting, Jimmy, though.
he's not sure what Freddie's going to pick
You're
either.
hitting
Are
the
we?
phones trying to get some inside word on who's getting picked. It's not.
But
We
it's
don't
Freddie-
just sit
mate,
there and wait for the team.
But
to
you can
drop
just play
in.
guessing games and just.
But that's
no,
what Freddie
no one's
does.
ever come
No,
after,
no.
come after
No.
if you're wrong, are
You
they?
sound like the Tigers and Bulldogs fans.
Yeah.
No, there's no guessing games, right? None of that.
Wow.
Oh, you
It's all
don't play
fact.
games.
We're dealing fact, Jimmy.
Yeah,
We're dealing
okay.
fact.
Well, you know what? At the end of the year, I want to listen to every Reedy's mail.
Yeah.
Go
See which
through-
one's right, which
see
one's wrong.
What's right, what's wrong. So,
You'll notice I play both sides, Jimmy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
never completely right, never completely wrong.
Now, let's talk about this. Well, let's throw this New South Wales side over to you guys. Obvious changes. Bradman Best comes in after a big performance over the weekend. Regan Campbell-Gillard, Kian Kaloa-Matangi, Cody Walker is now at number 6. So I'll throw it open to you. But to start with you, Reedy, is this in your role as a journo? Is this far off what you expected?
A little bit. Look, I wouldn't have expected Bradman Best to be there. I think he played his way in yesterday. I thought Matt Burton would be the centre. I'm surprised they've gone with Cody. Not that I don't think he'll do a good job or that he's not in good form, but it's basically a dead rubber. And Cody's 34 or so, 34. You know, it's not an eye to the future. I'd have preferred to see Nico there just so you could see how he handles it. I'm a bit surprised they've gone with a bench that's got both Reece Robson and Clint Gutherson on it. I think there's a lot of surprising things about this team. I mean, Payne Huss isn't there obviously because of injury.
The whole bloody team's a surprise, nearly.
Tommy's not there because of injury. But aside from that, it's 7 changes in all. It's
And it's
basically wielded the axe.
really, it's not really clear what Freddie's trying to do with this team because, you know, if you brought in some youth, then why is Cody Walker there for the dead rubber?
Should be Nico Hines.
So if Nico Hines is, right, I can see what he's trying to do here. And, you know, the dummy half and the fullback on the bench, that covers, I don't get that. And in Spencer Leniu, you've got the perfect bench front rower. Like, he plays that role. Like, in my opinion, not enough teams bring players through or develop young players for that specific role, which I think can win you games. That's a huge reason why Penrith are going so well, because of him coming off the bench, not starting.
He just brings another dimension, doesn't he? He just ups the tempo.
Well, and it changes the game, Woodsy. So you've got Spencer Leniu, who is designed as a bench front rower.
But you get through Leota, you get through Fisher Harris, you think, geez, we've done a good job. And then you go straight to Leniu, who just shifts up a gear. It's unbelievable.
Like, and that's no disrespect to Isaiah Yeo and Jacob Saifiti, who are the 2 middle players on the bench, but they're just going to bring more of the same.
But see, the thing for me is, our 3 back row, so obviously Martin, Kolomatangi and Murray, you want 80 minutes from them. You don't want Yo to go on and play a swap with Murray. You need him on the field. So are they putting Yo as our middle forward to play front row?
There's a bit
the
of
other
talk
question.
about that, Woodsy, that he would play as a front rower, yeah. Look, I think this is sort of symptomatic of what's happened with the New South Wales side and Freddie over the past 3 series. They've just lost their way.
And the other thing, like the one that I can't is Bradman Best. You listen to all the reports out of Newcastle, they're trying to move him on.
Yeah.
He has
I think there was a bit of talk about that, Woodsy, but I think they've now said that's not true. They want to keep Bradman, but there was a bit of a whisper
But
that
he's
they
had-
weren't overly happy with the
And
way he's
he's,
going.
like, no disrespect, like, good player, good young kid. He's had one good game against the
Yeah.
Bulldogs, who absolutely offered nothing yesterday. What about Katoni Staggs? He's been,
Yeah.
you know, he's played Origin before.
Yeah.
You know, he's been up thereabouts. And
Matt Burton.
Matt, but only question mark out of him was the hip drop, but he got off on a fine. So
so
he's been 18th man for game 1.
Well, all the talk was
game
before
2.
yesterday, Jimmy, that Burton was in. And then they've gone out and played yesterday. And if you listen to the whispers, they would have been delighted to drop Josh Adokar as well. That was the word going around.
So how didn't they drop Adokar? He's still there.
Well, because I think they thought, well, maybe they didn't even have any other options.
Dylan Edwards.
Well, I would have thought Dylan Edwards. If you're going to drop Josh, I thought that was. But there's a view that putting Dylan Edwards there would be unfair on him because he hasn't played.
Oh, man, he would do anything to play for a sky blue jersey.
Well, hey, I'm not the one making these decisions, Woodsy.
Yeah, I know.
I'd have had him in there somewhere.
All right.
Something.
Even the so
I'd start Robson and bring Cook off the bench.
Cook's going to play long minutes.
Yep.
So Gutherson, is he going to get on? Like, is that again that Gutherson? If it was 3 genuine middles, I could see how. I don't know. I'm a bit perplexed by this. I'm still digesting the news and trying to work it all out. But it's just even why play Stefano Utoikamanu in the first game? In game 2 for 12 minutes. Like, experiment with this young player, bring him in, give him a taste, and then.
You know the thing with me, Jimmy, it's like they haven't got a plan for their bench. Game 1, if Turbo doesn't get injured, Hines doesn't go on. So they're pretty much playing the game with 16 men.
And I get that because that's a tactic. I understand that tactic. And I'd said before, I can see Nico Hines not getting on. And I understand that to have that cover, that safety. But this is just
it's just it's a big question mark over everything, isn't it? Yeah. Are they planning for the future or
they're not?
No, they're not.
Would you? They're obviously not. And so, I mean, Brad mightn't have a future. You've got to remember that as well. There's every chance Brad Fittler won't be the coach next year. It would be a major surprise if he was. So
but we've got to have a better bloke to come in the coach. Who's going to coach?
Well, I don't know.
Okay. Well, even this game, right? Let's look at this game, and you talk about the future. Like, I like Bradman best. I think he's a top quality centre. Does he have a future in New South Wales with the talent and the quality at New South Wales' disposal?
Well, not if Tommy and Latrell are fit. No.
Tommy, Latrell,
Steve Crichton,
Campbell Graham.
You mentioned Campbell Graham.
So where is he in the pecking order of centres?
He's 6th or 7th.
So, but does Dylan Edwards have a future?
Probably. Well, he's probably their fullback next year. The way things are.
So would you not look to or does Matt Burton have a future?
Yep.
Yeah.
Does Nico Hines have a future?
That's what we don't understand. Like, what's he picking this side for?
I don't well done to Bradman Best, but I just don't know why he would be in instead of Matt Burton, who you could see representing New South Wales.
He's got a bit of a connection. I think Pari was the Origin manager before, and Bedsy's in the side, so obviously they've probably pushed heavy for him.
Yeah, I mean it's a bit mixed. It's almost like it's mixed signals.
Yeah,
on that front.
You know what I feel sorry for? I feel sorry for Campbell Graham. Like
he was injured. Though,
I know, but game 1 he should have been there.
He would have been there.
Didn't
if
play because he couldn't train all week.
Yeah.
He's one bloke I do feel sorry for this series.
Again, he's a guy who'll be in the mix next year, but Cody probably won't be in the mix next year. If we're being honest.
Well, again, that's another one where
what's the
why isn't Burton either playing instead of Bradman Best or instead of Cody Walker?
I agree.
You could have Hines at 5'8" and Burton at centre.
Yeah,
that's your future.
Yeah. And at least with that, you've got some level of understanding about where they're trying to go. It's confusing.
As I said, Jimmy,
it's really confusing.
It's symptomatic of what they've been like for the last few years.
The other thing
it's been confusing.
And if they can handle this situation, then you're going to have all the faith in the world from the next year because they've handled it with centre. Nico Hines has handled a 5'8" gig.
Yeah.
Are we all, before we go to the Brisbane team,
Queensland
on the Queensland team, I beg yours, do we all think it's going to be 3-0? Do we all think it's going to be a Queensland
I'm always
whitewash?
hopeful New South Wales will win with my heart.
You're hopeful, but do you think they will?
This is probably the most nervous I've been all series.
Really?
Yeah.
You're 2-0 down, Woodsy.
Mr. Wong's is killing me.
Yes.
So has he got to take you to Mr. Wong?
No, I've got to take the crew to Mr. Wong's.
Does that include Maroon now?
No way.
No, that includes me. I'm in here now.
He's in here, mate.
You know what? It includes whoever's free the day we book it.
Right.
Okay? That's everyone's heard it now.
I'll make sure I'm
Is that
free.
everyone? Are you saying anyone in the building is free?
No. Anyone from the Monday Scrum crew.
Right. Well, I'm not.
I'm a man of my word. I'll take this all.
Are you withdrawing?
Well, I mean, I'm not part of the Monday Scrum. We might be able to come to an arrangement here with our other bet.
We have to.
We've got this other bet going on.
Have we?
Yeah, with the prawn cutlets, but we'll come back to that.
Yeah, wait.
Now, the Queensland team, AJ Brimson comes in. Obviously, no Reece Walsh available for this one. I think we're all happy to see AJ Brimson get a start, and I don't think there'll be too many surprises.
And Kalen ruled himself out again yesterday.
Yeah.
He said yesterday he wasn't available for this series. So once he made that announcement, it was either, I guess, Hammer or AJ, and Hammer's done such a great job at centre. So AJ's been there before in good form. So, that's an obvious pick for me.
It's just a straight swap as well, isn't
Yeah.
it? You're not
He was there last game too.
moving things around like Hammers, although he plays fullback for his club side. He's been there for Queensland, so you're not moving one to then move someone else, if that makes sense. You're not solving one problem and opening up another.
For me, the only one I reckon in the side was Murray Tuolangi or Xavier Coates. I thought Selwyn Cobbo, because he was there game 1. There was a bit of rumours that he'd got dropped for game 2, but then some people said he was injured.
Ben Dobbin mentioned that on
He
Sunday
dropped,
yesterday,
didn't he?
that he was dropped.
Listen to you guys yesterday.
But either of those wingers deserve to lose.
But I'm just saying, Selwyn Cobbo was outstanding in game 1 as well.
Jimmy, you'd be happy about Corey Horsburgh, Big Red getting a start, wouldn't you?
Why? Because he's ginger.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly why, yeah.
And you all stick together.
Exactly.
It's a good thing, mate. Don't take it. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's not
It's a
bagging
good
you,
thing.
Jimmy.
And so I'm happy. I love his passion.
So I can't be happy that Mo Falawaker's playing as
Well,
well.
you can be, but I mean,
But like,
He was here
I'm more.
before.
Jim's filthy, Tom Dearden, the other gingers going Risso.
Yeah.
What about the
Yeah.
other gins?
He's a-
Man. Yeah, but he's not playing.
so now there's going to
You
be
know
another.
what? Well, there'll be one day they'll listen back to this and be go, I can't
Yeah,
believe
yeah.
they got away
Yeah,
with
yeah,
saying that.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got to be careful, but the gingers are going to take over one day.
Because it'll be another little minority group that we should respect. I wasn't going to,
Well, I know. We are people.
He's a good player, though, Corey
No,
Horsburgh.
in
Very good
all
player, isn't he?
seriousness,
deserves it.
Tough bugger.
oh mate, well, and he did shave his head a little bit bare blade as well, which is disappointing. So it's good to see that he's growing
You
it
reckon
back.
he's not
a
happy
little.
being ginged then?
Well, it's growing back. I think it was, maybe a bit of an experiment for the lad, but he's back, and credit to him, because I was reading over the weekend about how he questioned whether he would give up. He was at that's not crossroads, but just had a bad injury, and was, is it all worth it? And he went, you know what, it is. And even in the past couple of years, he flirted with first grade bench, New South Wales Cup. And then I think to quote him, he just went, F it, I'm just going to go all in and give it a crack. And, it's unfortunately for him, because Queensland are so strong in the forwards and do have depth, he's had to wait all this time to get his opportunity, but delighted for him. And it's a good message to anyone out there that, hard work, dedication, commitment, and you get rewarded.
And with that, he had a bit of a discipline issue. Remember that, he'd give away a lot of penalties, 6 agains, and then that time when he cried off the field and, give it to the fans. But he's come back bigger and better, and he's playing nearly 70, 80 minutes back road and gets shifted to the middle. He's so versatile, and he just can move around. And it looks like he's gained so much from being in the camp with the Queenslanders.
Now, boys, the next thing is that over the weekend we've seen just a amazing situation where we've seen 2 massive scores. Now, in my lifetime, I've never seen a team get beaten by 74-0. But I'm going to start with this one, though. The Doggies were beaten 66-0 by the Newcastle Knights. And we're going to start with you here, Gemma, because you are, I know that, Woodsy, you are a Doggies great, but you are, of course,
all 14 minutes.
Yeah, you are part of, what's going on? Are they going, it feels like at the moment, and granted they are missing a couple of middles and they are missing Kickow, but it feels like on the field at the moment, they're going backwards.
Well, I disagree with the term going backwards. I think yesterday was not acceptable. Like, it was a really poor performance. I think Newcastle got their tactics spot on by looking to consistently attack that edge of Ockenbaugh, Alamotti and Rajab. They just, those 3 players together got really exposed. And I think that's fair to say that when Newcastle Knights score 66 points and 11 tries?
Yep.
And Dominic Young doesn't get 1. That says where Newcastle went, and they kept going through the middle, and then to the Dogs' right edge, the Newcastle left edge. When they tend to usually favour, Newcastle will tend to go to Dominic Young. He barely got a touch. So what that says is Newcastle came with a plan. They stuck at it. They didn't get bored. Now, there was a couple of times as well where I think it was Greg Marju ran through the 2 front rows in Pangai Jr. and King. then that's not good enough. But it does happen. But when they're isolated incidents, you can look to come out. You can look to work on it. But it was just too often, and just look, it wasn't good enough. Rome wasn't built in a day. I know what they're trying to implement there at the Dogs, but I think they said from the beginning, like, it's going to be a slower burn than what people anticipated.
I know you work for. I tend to disagree. You look at the last couple of performances. It wasn't just on the weekend, Jimmy. The week
it's a couple of weeks now.
It's where they're getting beat. They're getting bashed up through the middle. Like Cronulla Sharks absolutely steamrolled, and they were up. I think it was 48-0 with about 18 minutes to go. And then the week prior to that was Parramatta steamrolled them through the middle as well. Just they're missing their big man. They've had Thompson out from the start of the year. He's had a Liz Frank injury that's gone for the whole season. He's one of their marquee players. Kickout's been out long term. It's just the depth. They've spent a lot of money in certain areas of their cap. Addo Carr for a winger's on a huge amount of money, and the form he's had this year. Last year I thought he was very unlucky to miss Origin. I pumped him up for game one. I just think he's been very quiet to his standards. Burton, he's just lacking something at the moment. He looked like he wasn't interested yesterday when I was watching him play. And then they're just not working well with the hooker Reed Marnie when they've got the ball. He tends to overplay his hand quite a fair bit. They're not getting the ball into the right player's hands at the right time of the game. And like you said, it's going to be a thing where they're all new players. They've got to work with the system. But it just looks like the longer this season's gone on, the worse they're getting at the moment. And look, there's some good signs. Like I believe that Cameron Serrato is a great coach for that side. But the areas that he's told us at the start of the year he wants to work on, which is defensively, they've just gone backwards in that area.
I think we're looking at it from a yesterday point of view, the last month. But I reckon if you compare the Bulldogs at the start of the season for a couple of games, they went down to Melbourne and won. Like, take the blueprint from that.
Exactly.
And they look tired. They look fatigued. And they look almost like they've just not put the cue on the rack, but they know the season's gone. And when
it's similar to the Tigers.
The worry for me is, Jimmy, you talk about they're missing blokes, Woodsy. They're missing Luke Thompson, who hasn't played all year, and Kickout. They're the only two, right? And Thompson, mate, he probably won't.
Ray Fatalamara,
Ray was back yesterday.
He was off the bench.
He's missed a long time out.
But Thompson probably won't be back there next year. Right, because he's off contract.
Yeah, but he's also a marquee man.
He's been injured the whole time he's been there.
Apparently, they're saying he might be back in 2 or 3 weeks, but he probably won't be there next year. Kickout obviously will come back. They've signed Steve Crichton and Bronson Cherry. Like, you can't put any stock in Bronson Cherry. The bloke hasn't played football in 4 years. So you're relying on Steve Crichton. He's the only bloke next year that's going to come into that side and try to make it better. Now, you'll get Kickout back, and that makes a difference.
The thing for me,
Kickout and Crichton,
no halves.
They got no. And there's no one to get.
I don't think Burton's. I think Burton's an out and out centre. When he was at Penrith, he got Dally M centre of the year. I think he's the best centre in the competition. That's why I'm bewildered that he's not in the New South Wales side.
I think he can play 5'8". He just needs
an organiser around it.
A quality half next or a bit of an organiser.
I'd be going after Ben Hunt.
Well, they are. Well, they're in the market for Ben Hunt.
Well, I think
are they allowed to?
Well, I think they're talking to him about 2026, as you're allowed to do.
What, in 4 years' time?
3 years of time.
What about...
And if he happens to become available at the end of the year, they've made it known that they'd be interested.
If they got him, it'll change the dynamic.
You've still got...
The Dragons will not let him go there, though. No way.
But even the other thing with Colo up, I felt sorry for the young kid. Like, they start him at 5'8", then they put him in middle, and that's a good size like Sharks, and they just they spot you out, and they're just throwing the kid into the wolves.
What sort of damage are doing to him, Carl?
It's a fine balance, isn't it? Yeah. It's a fine balance, isn't it? But you look at people like Crichton, like Kickout. They do. I know that you might say they're only two players, but two players make a huge difference.
Yeah,
huge difference.
And the thing
they cover other people's inadequacies. But they make other players around them better. They make Matt Burton better. They make the people on that right edge a lot better.
But you need the practice to help. Like when you played, Jimmy, you had yourself, Clemmer, Cassiano, Eastwood. You had blokes, Josh Jackson, that could protect these kids. They don't have that anymore.
Yeah. You need like 2 or 3 middles, don't you, mate?
You had some.
Is there anyone coming up? Is there anyone in the Super League?
Well, look, I guess this is up to the staff there to be active. But again, like the 3 Sydney clubs that are really struggling at the moment, it's going to take some time.
Well,
that's why Cam Serraldo signed a 5-year deal.
To me, Jimmy,
he didn't sign a 3-year deal. He didn't. So where this time next year they're going, what are we going to do? We're going to extend him. The Dogs knew. That's why they gave him 5 years, because any other like I say, that imagine he signed a 3-year deal like like Flano has. So we're 12 months into it. This time next year, they're going like, well, hang on, we're going to need to make a decision. I think it's responsible from the Dogs to recognise that this isn't an overnight fix. And yeah, there was a lot of hype and expectation around this season, which is always natural. Happens at every single club. But the reality of it is, you look at when teams sign someone to a 5-year deal and the situation they were in, they knew.
Well,
they knew.
You
There's
saw
the
Serraldo
evidence.
yesterday. He acknowledged this job was bigger than even he thought it was. Turning this club around and turning the culture around this place, because it's just become so used to losing that it's part of the woodwork there now. And he acknowledged that yesterday. He said they've got to turn the culture around, the belief, turn to a winning culture, and that takes time, and it takes players, and it takes bringing guys in. And I've got to say, those 3 Sydney teams, Jimmy, for me, they're the most attractive for a player to go to. I would
Why?
think.
To the Bulldogs.
I think so.
What about the
Yeah.
Roosters?
No, of the
3,
the
Oh,
Tigers,
I see
Dragons,
what you mean.
Bulldogs.
Yes, I
Yeah,
agree.
sorry, of the
I
three,
thought you meant
of
all
the
the
three
six, yeah.
battlers,
Yeah.
I
Gotcha.
think to me they would seem as an outsider looking in, they're the most attractive club because of the people they've got there, Gus and obviously Cam Serraldo, and you can see there's sort of a plan about what they're doing and where they're going. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Is
can
that-
see what
is
you
that
mean
fair?
about the
and
Dogs.
the stability there.
And they're a big club.
Yeah, they're
They
a
are
big club.
big club.
And there's stability there. Like that's what you look for, right?
Problem
So
is
you
at that
know-
place, though, Jimmy, when things don't go well at that place, it can become quickly unstable. We know that.
Can
They
I-
can be bought. They've got elections in
Yeah.
February, and if you don't think there's people right now after yesterday
Oh, yeah.
plotting behind the scenes to overthrow the board,
Well, you heard the
then
fans.
you're
when they-
delusional
you heard the
because
fans.
it's happening.
You heard the fans when they walked off at
I
half
was
time.
there, yeah.
Hey, Woodsy, let me just start with you here because you played for the Tigers. You have a long history with
Yep.
the Tigers. 74-0.
Yeah, it looks like-
74-0.
Oh, mate.
I've been going to the footy since 1974. I haven't seen 74-0. Would it be fair for somebody to say there's not the same plan there, or am I being unfair? The Doggies, we see, okay, well, look, they've got a plan in place. It's gonna
Yeah, the
come to
difference
fruition.
with the Doggies, they've got Gus, Serrata on the same page. You look outside in at the Tigers, they don't know who's coming or going. They didn't know that Scott Fulton was going to come in. He was employed by Pascoe and Lee Hadjimajatis, I think he's the
Hadji
chairman of the
Pintos,
class,
yeah.
of the club. From looking outside in, it doesn't look like Benji and Sheensy are too happy with that. And then when you look at it during the game, who's the coach? Is Benji the head coach or is
Yeah.
Sheensy? Because from watching when they go to the coach's box, you got Benji down the front with the headset on, and then Sheensy's 2 rows behind him.
Yeah.
So you're getting all these mixed messages out of the club. At least with the Dogs, you got Serraldo front and centre doing everything, and Gus is behind the scenes doing all what he's got to do. They're all on the same page, whereas it doesn't look pretty good. And then you got their main player, their halfback in Luke Brooks, that wanted out of the club, who's a local junior that could have stayed there, but they offered him, peanuts and wanted to put a deadline on him. So he's got out of the club, and when they've got no backup plan to get a halfback.
And their issue is now they're fishing in the same pond as the
Yeah.
Bulldogs trying
But
to
the
find
other
a
thing is,
halfback.
they've got nothing. And Adam Dewey, who is going to be one of their main men, is not back till probably around 23,
He'd be lucky to
24
play
at
next year,
the
would you reckon?
earliest next year. He still hasn't had his ACL surgery done yet.
Yeah, well, it makes
Seriously,
you...
why has he not had that done yet?
He had to get it. So he had to get a full clean out with all the screws and the holes filled in his knee, and then he went down to Melbourne for that, and then now he's waiting to get his ACL surgery done. So
Right.
he is going to be lucky to play next year.
Did you think Jammer thought he joined HCF and he was sitting out the period, before.
Probationary period.
Yeah. All right,
to
guys.
prolong it.
Yeah.
You're the best, Maroon.
Manly have
He's
had
in
a
the
good
public
win.
system.
He's got to wait till he gets to go.
Tigers are doing it tough. Sorry, mate.
They're not paying the bills.
Now, Manly, not only did Manly keep their season alive yesterday, Woodsy, but you managed to leapfrog a couple of teams. And it was a great win yesterday. Very gutsy defence toward the back end. And
Yeah, we played the Manly way.
Yeah.
We wanted to get it
Manly
done.
way.
Um,
What's the Manly way, Woodsy?
Just
Is that like the
hang,
Roosters way?
just hang in there and be gritty. It's not a pretty win.
You're
Just
taking
get
the
the
mickey
job.
there. You're taking the
Well,
mickey.
you hear that Robbo was happy after the game with the way they played, but they didn't get the 2 points.
Was he?
Yeah, didn't you hear his press
No, I
conference?
didn't hear his press comments.
And he did have a bit of a shot at the refs. The refs just got to rule on what he sees throughout the game, and Mate, the Roosters' line speed yesterday was phenomenal. We were catching the ball and they were flying out of the line. They were right up for it. We knew from the get-go that it was going to be a tough game. They defended so well. We had a lot of opportunities on the trial, and I thought our attack was, quite poor for our standards, but they didn't give us opportunities to attack well. And it took for a classy little play from Schuster at the end of the game to put young Benny Torojevic away.
Yeah.
And they still had an opportunity the last couple of minutes to win the game, but we dug deep as a team and just kept working for your mate on the inside.
Okay, it is time for this.
Now, the WTF moment.
All right, boys, your WTF moment of the weekend. I'm going to give you all a chance to have a crack at one of these. Who wants to get in a dummy half and go first?
I'll go first
All right.
because mine's not just from myself. Like I actually got a little short ball from a good mate of ours, Chigga White.
Right.
It's about his main man on the right of me here. That's big Jimmy Graham. So I was coming in here as mate, boy around, you're killing it. It's been absolute outstanding to hear. And I just asked him about his shirts. I was like, mate, how good's the clothing you've got? And he goes, mate, have you seen the model for the all the shirts and shorts? And he showed me. He goes, mate, how good is Jimmy Graham looking? I love a front row that models off all the clothes. And then as we had a look, it looked like he was tensing his arm in a lot of the photos. Come on, Jimmy. And then Chigga White's going to actually give us some footage to show on the podcast today of the model shots, mate.
Well, that's good. You sell a couple of shirts, mate.
Oh, hopefully.
They're sold out too. He's on fire.
Do you know
I don't think we're sold out.
Of the shorts.
No, look, he's singing all
the
this
safety,
voice.
safety shorts. Yeah, we
sold
sold
out.
out the safety shorts.
Are you going to get like one of those an OnlyFans page?
You shouldn't be looking at that, Grandad.
He's a creep, mate. He's a creep.
Yes, well,
He doesn't mind the gingers on OnlyFans.
Easy.
What's OnlyFans?
Well, I don't really know what it is.
Ask Reedy. Reedy knows all about it.
well,
Only fans.
Yeah.
What's that?
His glasses are fogging up right now.
Sorry,
have
sport
you got
comedy,
a WTF for
Yeah,
us,
look, I'm going to
Peabody?
go to the cricket.
Righto.
I was watching the cricket last night. I have not watched a lot of the Ashes, but I flicked it on last night, and I saw Johnny Bairstow get run out,
Yeah, I saw that.
and the carry on after that was unbelievable. He walked out of his crease.
Yeah, and
he was a
yeah.
buffoon.
Can I say something?
He got a bit dozy. They
He
kept
did it
saying.
in the first innings
Yes.
to Marnus Labuschagne. He did it in 2021 and got Colin, the New Zealand all-rounder out, and he appealed for it and he got out.
I felt sorry for him initially, and then I saw all that footage.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, you got what was coming to you.
And then Brendan
what was coming
McCullum
here.
had one of the worst ones ever against Sri Lanka, and he's
Yeah.
the coach of the old Bazball.
And then
Get that in ya.
silly-eyed
Sorry,
Stuart
Jimmy.
Broad was carrying on, and he
Can I say one thing about how good was Ben Stokes?
he was unbelievable.
But
What a
basically,
performance.
the Aussies were bricking it, and they thought,
Win.
we're
Anything
gonna
to win, Jimmy.
you're gonna have to be a shit house to win. So, are you allowed to say that on?
Shithousery. You said there was shithousery involved?
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
We're bowling to one of the
absolutely
S-houses in Broad anyway.
feral behaviour, and it's feral behaviour
Yeah.
when all the toffs of Lords are
What
giving it
about
to
them?
Can
like
I- did
all
you see-
those toffs,
Did you see the name of the toffs?
Yeah.
like
They're all
Rupert,
They're all hyphen names.
Rupert, Edward
What about them
from
going-
Winchester.
That was unbelievable, that footage, when they walked into the long room and they've got stuck in a poor old Uzi Khawaja.
Yeah.
And he reacted. You knew Dave Warner would react. He can't help himself.
You know what? I've just picked up on a thing here, Reedy.
What's
I
that?
tell you what, though, it could get nasty in
Yeah.
Test 3. Like, it's on. Gloves are off.
Really?
Gloves
Okay.
are off.
Well, they want to be able to hit the ball because
Yeah.
they are chasing it hard, the old Bazball.
Yeah. What do you got there, Maroon?
We know
What's
that.
up? You're all right? You seem
well,
lost.
just that we always say that our man Wendell has two sayings that he always says, and you know this, and you know this. This is what he says. Now I'm
And-
going to tell you something, and you know this, Reedy. The other one is, and just quietly,
Yes.
you know. But I've just discovered you've got one.
Oh, what's that?
You constantly say, "Can I just say one thing?" Like a little kid at school.
Because I can't get my point in with you because you never shut up.
Ah,
Is that your WTF moment?
that was my
Oh,
WTF.
good.
That was
Did Jimmy
awful.
have one?
Did you have a Jimmy?
My WTF moment
I'll take
comes
over if you
from
like, Maroon.
comes from the Manly v Roosters game yesterday, and around about the 69th minute, Daly Cherry Evans puts on a step, makes a half break, gets tackled by Nat Butcher, pulls his leg. It's 10 minutes in the bin all day. The referee's explanation was, this is an earn the right tackle. I'm not going to talk about it now. And I've gone,
Professional foul.
what on earth is an earn the right tackle. I have never heard that description in all my life. What's an earn the
He's
right?
earned the right to hold him down a bit longer because
No,
it
you
was a
haven't.
legs tackle, wasn't it?
Doesn't
Cherry
matter.
Evans made a line break. He's just clinged on to him. Cherry Evans is getting up to play the ball and he pulls his leg. It's 10 minutes in the bin every day of the week. I know we've had some
He had
awful refereeing decisions and bunker decisions.
this
But
weekend.
An earn the right tackle.
Okay,
He's not going to the bin. That is, if I was still playing now and one of my players, I would say, come on, that's an earn the right
Would you got
tackle.
the knuckle out,
Yeah.
Jimmy?
It's
You
coming.
got the knuckle out?
So-
It was coming.
The hands would be behind the back going,
Can I just say
what
something?
The F is an earn the right tackle.
Hey, guys, speaking of these referee decisions, there's been some howlers over the
Don't
weekend.
start. Don't
What
start.
Sorry,
about-
hang on. Have you ever heard of an earn the right tackle before?
Jimmy,
I
they're making it up on the
I
run these
can't
days.
remember, Jimmy, but I think I understand what they're saying and why that decision was made.
He's in the right to pull his leg as he's
He's doing the
trying
right
to
to
get.
hold on to him a bit
So
longer.
Cherry Evans hasn't had a great carry of the ball and earned a right to get a quick play of the ball?
I'm just saying why I think in that situation he said
Read.
he's earned the right.
I reckon
That
the refs
was a
just,
it-
the refs doesn't want to think that the decision is going to change the
Change the
impact
game.
of the game,
Impact.
so he's
100%.
scared to take him 10 in the bin.
Okay, I'll tell you, well, you blokes are the experts.
All right.
I'm just a humble journo, just doing his best.
What about the on the referees? What about the Nelson Asafa Solomona try? Do you think it was a knock on, or did the other? I thought maybe the defender might have.
I thought it was a penalty first for getting tackled before he got the ball,
Yeah.
but then it was no try. It was a double movement
What did
or
you
knock on,
I
whatever you
thought
want
it
to
was,
say.
was it a knock on, or was the ball knocked away from him?
Well, I thought that the person coming across had knocked his arm before he caught the ball, which would have been a penalty to Melbourne. But then as he was going down, I thought he played at the ball, but which the ball come free, and then he lifted his arm up to score.
Knock
So
on.
What do you? I don't know. What do you want to call it? Knock on, double movement.
Well,
No
knock on.
try.
Yeah.
I reckon it's no try. Even Nelson did. You see him get up and
Yeah.
he just stood there like this, like going.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What about the Dave Fifita try? No try.
Oh, that should have been a try all day,
Another howler.
and that would have won. They were on the wrong end of a couple of ordinary decisions.
And that was right
Just
going-
before half
just
time.
before half time.
That
That hurt him.
Yeah.
But there's no common sense with the bunker this day and age.
I've
Nah.
said this. They should just
Yeah.
pull a random out of the pub each day and
yeah.
stick them in there
Yeah,
and then
stick a
just
coin.
go, is this one all right? And they go, no. And they go, really? Why? Oh, look, mate, come on. It's in that I think it was Casey Badger that denied David Fifita the try. Insane.
The best was the
Like,
Origin.
insane.
I still can't believe they gave Val Holmes that first try.
I just try. Every day
Oh
of the
no,
week.
that
What
was
are you
a
on about?
try. What do
Come
you?
on,
How
mate.
far back do you want to go
Come on,
now?
mate.
You want to go
Fair
back to
dinkum.
the Origin game 3 weeks
Don't-
ago?
Just because it was Queenslanders scoring.
Anyway,
He's up.
we love Casey Badger, so it was Casey's
That's
fault.
it.
She
You
loves
know
the
what- you know why
podcast.
he's
She
ang-
loves the podcast.
I
too.
love you, Casey.
She told me she listens to all the podcasts.
You know why he's angry, Maroon, about that Queensland try? Because it's cost him lunch at Mr. Wong's.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't
Oh,
that.
that's
It,
now
it,
I've
got a
it,
thing.
it, was-
Speaking
it, was-
with his
it,
wallet in
it
mind.
wasn't that just that try, really.
So we'll come to an arrangement with your Mr. Wong's lunch because
So we can, but you're not involved.
no, but you said whoever comes on this
Nah,
show.
that's
Now I'm
true.
on. So why don't you? If you don't want me to come,
I want you to
let's
come.
null and void the
Nah.
other bet where I owe you all those prawn
Nah,
cutlets.
more the merrier. The
What
more
do
the
you owe
merrier.
prawn cutlets for
'Cause
again?
I lost a bet. I owe him a lifetime of prawn cutlets and a lifetime of calamari rings.
Oh, I
potatoes-
love-
and
I love
potato
a prawn-
scallops.
I love a prawn cutlet.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're so good.
Not just myself,
prawn
but
cutlets
Gerds.
are
Mate, they're
great.
outstanding.
Gerds as
I think
well.
I'm going to Uber some in tonight, man. You
A
lot.
lifetime supply. That's a lot of prawn cutlets.
And
Well,
mate, the
and-
bet is whenever he wants them, he just rings.
So
and
I got to ring. So I rang him at 2:00 this morning. I was watching the cricket. He didn't answer my call.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Cost him there.
Now, speaking of a couple of decisions didn't go their way, the Tigers against the Cowboys. That's a very controversial refereeing decisions in that one. Not. It was 74-0. Is the Benji Tim Sheens thing, is it working? Well, look, I'll tell you what. Let me start with you, Reedy.
Well, Woodsy spoke about
Well,
it before.
Woodsy's got a little bit of, I'll use the expression, a little bit of shit on his liver with this because he's an old Tigers player.
Where's that
He's got
phrase
a bit of
come
an
from?
issue, a bit of Tigers issue, haven't you, mate?
What, I've got no issue with the Tigers.
Are you sure?
100%
You don't
positive.
feel a little bit abandoned by them?
No, I feel like I felt sorry for them on the weekend. I still support them. It's a club I grew
Oh,
up.
you support them?
Yeah, I want them to go well,
He's got
except
the
for when they play
tattoo.
against Manly.
And tattoo, what do you wear?
So when you finish playing, you're going to
Dogs.
be a Tigers supporter?
I'll be a rugby league supporter. I've played for 5 clubs. I've got to support someone.
Yeah, you'll always be right for a reunion
Hey,
or
there's
tickets.
I've still got a couple of years left in me. I could have a couple more clubs.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's right.
But Maroon, back to the issue at hand. Look, Woodsy spoke about it before. Benji's basically the front man for that place anyway. Benji's the one negotiating with players, trying to recruit players. Benji's the one in the front of the coach's box with the headset on.
Oh, yeah.
Tim's at the back. Tim's just taking the bullets for Benji right now, as he will do potentially next year, maybe not. But Benji for me is effectively the head coach at the moment. He's doing all the legwork.
Do you think Benji's thinking, geez, have I got myself into a
I think he's
very hard
I think
task?
he'd be concerned,
Yeah.
particularly if they can't get a half for next year.
Especially with all the talk at the moment, do you reckon he'd be happy to keep Tim there for next year, just to keep taking the bullets?
Well, if it helps shield
Yeah.
him, I'm sure he would.
Hey,
Yeah.
but Reedy, if they can get a half from next year, for next year, where are they going to get
Well,
the half?
apparently Jack Cogger knocked them back.
Really?
Where are they going to
Yeah.
get the half? Are they Super League? Is there somebody
Well,
over
they
there?
tried people like Cogger and Jock Madden, and
Wasn't Jock Madden there already?
he was, yeah. Then he went to Brisbane on a 2-year deal. Benji's reached out to him.
They tried Luke Brooks, couldn't keep him.
They've looked at England, but the guys in England, George Williams, re-signed for long term.
Yep.
I think Mitch Pearce going to come make the Roosters by the sounds of it. There's a couple of young halves over there. Lewis Dodd, but the other problem with that is, as I said before, they're in the market with the Bulldogs at the same time, looking at the same position, and the Bulldogs with Gus and Serraldo and the stability or more stability of that club.
There's more bright side of the Bulldogs at the moment.
There's more upside in them, and I think if it comes down to a shootout between those two clubs, the Tigers are going to run second there as well.
So
that's
they're
their
not
issue.
going to get a half back.
Well, they'll find one eventually somewhere, but it's going to be about their 30th
but
choice.
Can you tell me where yours? Yeah, that's right. They're going to. I mean,
Sean
they're
Johnson knocked them
they're not
back.
growing on trees, mate. Are
No, they're not. No,
they? Yeah. All right.
they've got some good kids coming through though, Maroon.
Yeah, but you need to have good players around to help
That's
the
true. You
kids.
do. Yeah.
Look at
I'm
that
just
Dream
saying.
Buller. He started off like a house on fire. Now he's just getting targeted because that's their only bloke to go to.
Yeah.
Time for this.
Reedy's Mail.
And sorry, I've
Oh,
got to
here
say,
we go.
when
Can I just say something, boys?
Jareen
Listen to
Buller-
this bloke.
Jareen Buller come on. This bloke was doing everything but stalk the poor kid, and I had to say to him, mate, just calm down. The kid's only played 5 minutes of first grade.
It was like the Dolphins. You just didn't want to give the Dolphins an acknowledgement that they had a good side and they're going well.
Well, they're not
You were the
going well
first one.
now.
Yeah,
I
you just
love
want-
them.
How happy are you now because they're losing?
I'm sad that they're losing. I love all the South
You
East
are
Queensland
Mr.
teams.
Negatron.
No, Reedy. Sorry to interrupt.
Let's start with Dave Fifita and Tino for Malawi because stories come out in the past 24 hours that they have get-out clauses because there were clauses in their contract related to Justin Holbrook. It's come out today that Canberra has tabled a massive deal to Dave Fifita, 4 years, $4 million. They had lashed him previously before he re-signed at the Gold Coast. They offered him three years at that time, and it was around the $3 million mark, or it was a little less than $3 million. So they've now come back in with a bigger offer for Dave Fifita. There's a finite time that Dave and Tino have got that this clause is active for. I believe it's around the 3-month period. So Holbrook was sacked, I think, was it last week now? I can't remember.
Week before.
So they've got about 11 weeks from now to decide what they want to do. And obviously they're both in Origin for the next week and a half. So you can write off the next 10 days, 11 days, fortnight. After that, they'll have about 8 weeks to make a decision on where they want to play next year, whether they want to stay or not. And obviously, as I said, Dave's already got clubs reaching out to him. And I would imagine Tino will have the same, if not more. Because
100% he will.
Yeah.
if I'm Canterbury, they talk about Canterbury chasing Payne Haas. Fair
Mate,
income.
Dragons.
I would throw everything at Tino and the Dragons.
What about
Dragons.
can we ask you this question
Yeah.
though in relation to Fifita going to Canberra when the Titans are on the verge of maybe making the 8? I wonder what the difference, and you can explain to me the difference between the Raiders now contacting Fifita and the Rabbitohs signing Whiten, and they all in Canberra went off like a box of crackers. I mean, what's the difference if them approaching Dave Fifita?
Well, there's no difference.
Well, there's no difference. Well, how come they blew up when South approached Whiten?
Who blew up?
The Raiders blew up.
Because they want to keep him.
You don't remember all that? They shouldn't be approaching our players. We offered him so much money.
Look at
Why
him
is he
try- look at him
going
try to
there
support
anyway?
South
They
Sydney
didn't
here.
say that.
No, they bloody oath they did say that.
Are you just making something up in that
Mate,
temple
are
of yours?
you guys going when Jack Whiten signed with
Fair
South?
dinkum. Are you on the good
they
stuff
weren't
today
happy.
or
They
what?
weren't
They
happy.
weren't happy. There
No.
was a big blow
No,
up.
because I think they weren't happy because the perception was that Jack took less money to go to South. There would be no
I
Dave
can't.
Fifita would be taking more money if he
What's
went
in
to
your
Canberra.
coffee cup over there today, mate?
Mate,
Look,
that's,
at
you
the
make,
end-
there's just no difference at all.
Well, there is. I just told
is
you the
absolutely
difference.
no
I
difference.
just told you the
You're
difference.
saying Jack Whiten can. I don't want to go down this road again.
Well, you are.
But when Jack Whiten signed with South, there was all this carry on about them approaching their
No, they were
players.
disappointed.
And now they're
Yeah.
doing the
That's
same
not
thing.
what it was.
It was more than
They're filthy.
disappointing.
They lost
and
their
you
best
know
player.
it.
They filthy lost their best.
They thought they were disappointed he took less money to go to South Sydney. They
They weren't
just,
angry at Salford.
No.
Like,
But what's the difference if he takes less money or not?
Anyway, look, I don't think in the end, I don't think Dave Fifita will go
Right.
because he had the opportunity to go before. He didn't go. He's pretty settled at the Gold Coast, and I'd be surprised if Tino went as well because he is the captain of that football club, and it might mean that those clubs have got to renegotiate their existing deals with Fifita and Tino and throw a bit more cash in to keep them both there. But if you've got to do that, you do it for those two guys.
Yeah,
Do you agree?
I would agree.
100%, mate. Especially Tino. I think Tino's one of the best front rowers in the competition.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Let's go. I've got another little item.
Oh,
I spoke to
beautiful.
Luke Brooks on Last Thursday, Luke Brooks.
Yeah.
I chatted to him for about half hour. During the course of that conversation, I said to him, Luke, Manly, what made you go there? And he said, look, I spoke to a few people at the club. I spoke to Woodsy. I sussed the club out with Woodsy. And he said that was one of the reasons he elected to go to Manly. Woodsy, tell us.
Got a bit
Take
of
us
pulling
inside
power.
that conversation.
Well, he's a quiet kid, Brooksy, so
Yes.
just had a good little yarn about the
Did he
club
ring
where
you
it's
many
at.
times? Was it one
No,
call?
just a couple of times we spoke to each other.
Really?
Well, we don't, it wasn't just like a random. We talked to each other all the time.
Okay.
Like, we're
Do
pretty
you
clittle.
get a clip? You get a little clip off him?
Do you get a
Little
fee?
fee?
All you're worried about is invoices.
not all-
This is-
we don't all think like you,
No,
mate.
but I'm just about because he could have rung you and asked you about a whole bunch of clubs, couldn't he?
he wasn't asking about the Dragons or Tigers.
Did you feel any? Did you feel any sense of guilt that you've helped contribute to him leaving the Tigers?
No, not at
Your
all.
beloved
No, not
Tigers?
at all, because I tried to go back there. They didn't want me, so I'm just worrying about what's best for
Hey,
Hold
us.
on,
See
what's
what I
this
said
about?
before?
Yeah.
What are you saying? What's happened there?
No, nothing much, mate. I had a little coffee with the club earlier in the year, and just things couldn't happen. So
So if that coffee has probably changed the fortunes of the West Tigers. If they'd taken you back, Luke Brooks would probably be at the Tigers still. Would that be fair to say?
oh, there's a lot of things you could say.
Well, I'm saying it.
Oh, who knows? They still probably didn't want me if I did get there. You never know.
Anyway, so the big fella here
Yes,
has
well,
basically
would
played
he?
a part in Luke
No, I
Brooks.
just had a chat to him. He just wanted to know where the club was at. The young players coming through, what the coach was like. The systems and.
You like playing the Seabs, don't you?
I love
Enjoyed
it. Yeah, he cops a lot of flack from a lot of people for obvious reasons. That they're mates with certain people. There's no doubt that.
Don't wrap him in front of Maroon.
No,
mate.
I love the
No,
bloke.
no,
This is all
No, this is
Wendell's.
nothing to do with Maroon, but there's
Yeah.
certain people that had agendas against him when he was the
Yeah.
coach of Broncos, and I felt sorry for him. A lot of lies came out about that at that period, but mate, he's been really good for the group, and you only got to look at the way Cherry Evans is playing his footy. It's the best footy he's played of his career, and not taking anything away from Des. He was playing some really good footy under Des, but it just looks like within the last 12 months he's really gone to another level.
Boys, I'm afraid that's where we're going to have to leave it. But no doubt we'll see each other in the course of the week. James Graham?
How many invoices you got this week?
Well, it's only one, but I'm going to weigh it up. It's going to be every line's going to be taken, and a little bit at the end for the GST. It'll be a full invoice. Don't worry about that. I got the big invoice books. I've got my finger in a lot of pies, but they're all party pies. Reedy, we'll catch you on NRL 360,
Yes, tonight.
and Woodsy, we'll see you back end of the week playing for the mighty Sea Eagles.
No, you won't. I've got to buy, mate. Geez, you do a lot of study before shows.
Mate, I'm not obsessed with what. Oh yeah, I walk in here before I go on now. Before I go
You've
on,
only asked-
what
you've
is
only-
Manly doing on the weekend?
You've only asked me 6 times. What do I get up to?
No one gives a
commentate-
shit
are we
what you do or what Manly does.
Are we Geez, how many poor old Sopranos going to have to bleep so many
swore
things
a lot
out today?
today,
I know,
haven't you?
mate.
Thanks,
Wow,
everybody.
You just swear jar.
Thanks,
Are you going
everyone.
to say goodbye to Jimmy?
I did. Don't you listen, you palooka.